What's up, guys, and welcome back to another movie talk with two scoops. Today, I'm finally going to be talking about Black Panther 2. This is going to be a spoiler talk. So, fair warning, I initially saw this movie Thursday night, and I wanted to do the review the next day, but it was a lot. And I decided that I wanted to see the movie again and also give myself more time to think about the movie and process it and figure out how I really felt about the movie. Because one thing that I've learned from doing these reviews is that sometimes the very first reaction or the very first feelings towards the movie aren't the true ones. You can kind of get caught up in the moment and the emotions and the anticipation that was built up while waiting for the movie. I wanted to make sure that everything that I say in this review is truly reflective of how I feel. Now, of course, that could still change over time, but I think after seeing it twice, I have a pretty good understanding of how I feel about the movie and how I'm going to feel about the movie. And I like the movie. I really liked it. And I know some people are going to feel a type of way, but leaving out of the theater from this movie the first time, I thought that I liked it more than the first one. I'm still debating. I actually just finished watching the first one. Those are the end credits. But I actually just rewatched the first one immediately after watching the second one in theaters for the second time, just to gauge how I feel about that movie, if anything has changed. And I do have a different opinion about that movie. I know I released a video saying that I had some controversial thoughts about that movie. As far as how I saw the movie and how a lot of other people saw it, I wasn't as swept up in the moment as a lot of people were. And I found I had issues with the CGI. Well, you know what? That was actually my main issue, is that I couldn't get past the CGI. But after watching it now, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I was intentionally looking at it to like it more, because I honestly didn't want to like the second one more than the first one, because I know how impactful the first one was. All right, what's up, guys? It's your boy Scoops, and I'm currently editing this video when I realized that there's something I wanted to say to follow up on my comment about how there were certain things I didn't like about the first Black Panther movie. I mentioned that I had an issue with the CGI, but more specifically, I had an issue with the CGI of the Black Panther suit. And in the video that I released where I talked about controversial thoughts towards that first Black Panther movie, that was the main grievance that I had, is that suit compared to the suit that he wore in Civil War was a downgrade to me. I liked the fact that it could absorb kinetic energy and then redistribute that energy is a cool idea to me, but I thought that the execution was poor. That suit looked so obviously not real to me, and it took away any gravity that it could have had. So I compared the scene where he was chasing Bucky in Civil War to the final scene between Killmonger and Black Panther in the first Black Panther movie, and you can just see a world of difference in the way that suit looked. It completely looked fake. And that was so hard for me when I watched it for the first time in the movie theaters, because I wanted that movie to be everything that I expected it to be. And to be honest, as far as the plot and the story, it was, but I could not get with that. It looked like it moved into a cartoon universe for that fight, and for that to be the final fight of the movie. And it was other parts throughout the movie where it was noticeable, but that mainly that last scene, it was just, I couldn't ignore it, and that really hurt the overall perception that I had for that movie, at least when I saw it in theaters on the big screen. Now watching it again, now that I'm home, it's a smaller screen, it feels a little different. It's not as noticeable, but when they get down to that tunnel where they're fighting by the train, it's still super noticeable. There's like no gravity to the movements of the characters. It's just bad. And so compared to when we first saw him in Civil War, I thought that it was a downgrade, and he wasn't that exciting as a character in his own movie to me, because the way he fought in the Civil War and just that suit made him look massive. I felt like the suit that he wore in his movie, it made him look a lot slimmer and a lot less intimidating. And so to tie that into this movie, something that I really did enjoy about this movie is that Shuri, I think I've been saying her name wrong this whole time, Shuri, her suit, you can actually tell that in many scenes, she's actually wearing a physical suit. And I think Marvel has underestimated the benefits of actually having your character wear a suit and it looks real. Like it's a world of difference. It's something so simple, but a lot of times they opt to put them in these motion capture suits and then just CG the suit over them. And Spider-Man suffers from that as well. Just we want to see them in a suit. It's a little detail that makes it all that more believable, because it's already, we have to suspend our disbelief so much already. Just put them in a real suit. So that was that. Thank you guys for listening to my TED Talk. Time to get back to editing. First things first, we have to address the elephant in the room, and that's that Chadwick Boseman unfortunately passed away. So this movie was always gonna be a difficult movie to make and a difficult movie to watch, because the script was completed before he passed away. So there was a significantly different story before he passed, and Ryan Coogler had to go in and rework it to make it fit. And so now, instead of the focus being on T'Challa, focus is now on Zuri. And that's a lot of pressure for an actor who before was really just a supporting character, I'd say. But I believe she did a really good job with it. She carried the movie, and her and Angela Bassett, those two characters carry this movie. The emotion is what sells it. And I watched a couple reviews. I listened to some different people talk about the movie, and a lot of people think that the first one is better. And there were some people that I saw who genuinely didn't like this movie. And I think that the reason that somebody might not like this movie is because after seeing it for the second time, it is a slow burn. It is long. That's one thing that I will say about the movie, is that it's longer than it needs to be. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that. And you feel it. And you actually don't get any real action until about an hour and a half into the movie. That's a long time to wait on action. But they spend that time, they spend that first hour and a half building up this story and allowing us, as well as the characters in the movie, to grieve this loss. So if you're the type of person who doesn't want to dwell on sadness, or you want to get straight to the action, or maybe you just don't want that type of emotion in your superhero movie, then I completely understand why somebody might leave this movie feeling like it disappointed. But me, on the other hand, I love movies that are character driven and emotion driven. And that's not to say that I don't like action, because I do, but I like action that's supported by emotion, by adequate motivation, not just action for action's sake. And there's really genuinely some heartbreaking performances in this movie. There's one scene where Angela Bassett, in this particular scene, she believes that Zuri is dead, and she's holding a meeting. She's just stripped Okoye of her ranks. Okoye is trying to plead her case and saying that, I've served my country. Please allow me to die serving my country. I've given everything. That was the important thing. She said, I've given everything. And then Queen Ramonda, I hope I'm saying her name right. These names are hard for me. Queen Ramonda responds by saying, I lost my husband, I lost my son, and now I've lost my daughter because of you. Because she asked the queen's permission to take Zuri on a mission, and she lost her. So she's saying, I've lost my husband, I've lost my son, and now I've lost my daughter. She says, I'm the most powerful person in the most powerful country in the world, and I have no family. And when I tell you, that broke my heart. And honestly, on the second viewing, because I already knew what moments were gonna hit, maybe it's because I was starting to feel that emotion beforehand because I knew it was coming, but I actually shed a tear. And that's when I realized that this movie had very strong emotional performances, and it hits you. You feel it. I don't know that there's been a movie in a long time that has genuinely made me sad, and not sympathetic but empathetic. I felt the pain of the characters, and that is why, me personally, after rewatching the first one, I completely understand, and I even see it in a different light than I did before. And it's even more compelling now after watching a second one, which is another reason that I feel like this movie exceeded my expectations. And that wasn't hard to do because honestly, I didn't expect too much from this movie. And when I did my reaction to the trailer, one of the things that I said is that I hope that this movie doesn't let us down because it seems like they're taking things more seriously. And they did. So it didn't let me down in that regard, but I still had minimal expectations for it. I thought at the least, if they don't let me down in the emotion department, in the seriousness of the movie, then I'd be satisfied. But I wasn't prepared for the emotional journey that this movie takes Zuri on. And like I say, she's the heartbeat of this movie. This movie is about her and her grieving process. Everybody's trying to tell her how she should grieve, but the whole time she's not grieving that way. She's not able to move forward like everyone around her. And she's genuinely mad. She's angry. And it's understandable because she's young. She's lost everybody in her family now because they killed her mom. She literally has nobody left in her bloodline, or so she thinks. We'll find something else out at the end of the movie, of course, but still, I'm not sure how old she is, but if she's even my age, that's a lot. To lose a dad, to lose your brother, to lose your mother, and now she is queen. Now she's the queen. So now she has the responsibility of caring for her people. She didn't ask for any of that. It's just been handed to her. And so it's very hard to go on this journey with her because you feel for her, or at least I felt for her. Watching her recreate the heart-shaped flower, because Killmonger had them burn all of them, but she found a way to recreate that plant and to give herself the powers of the Black Panther. So watching her do that and watching her put that suit on for the first time and step into that position as Black Panther, as queen with authority, was rewarding because we watched her for an hour and a half struggle with even accepting the fact that her brother was gone. And so now she's here. She's made it. That is why I think it's important to let a story tell its story sometimes and not get right to the action, because we had plenty of time to watch her grow. And honestly, I don't even want to say so much that she grew as she was forced into this position, but we still got to watch her struggle and still watch her make that hard choice. I'm not gonna give you guys a play-by-play because it's too much. The movie is long and so much happens in it. But guys, I really like this movie. I love this movie, and I want to see it again. When they release it, hopefully they release it on Disney Plus. But even if they don't, I pay for this movie. I would buy this movie just to have both of them and to be able to watch them in succession, because the best analogy that I could come up with is this movie feels like Endgame, and the first Black Panther was Infinity War. First one, action-packed, funny, visually stunning. Second one, somber. Everybody's trying to figure out how to put the pieces back together, but in the end, that emotion, it's a cathartic experience watching Zuri go on this journey. It was a cathartic experience watching Tony and Bruce and Black Widow and all of these characters go through what they went through in Endgame. And I think overall that's what made this movie. And if it wasn't for Zuri and Queen Ramonda, then this movie probably wouldn't have even been as powerful. Those two characters sold it. Their emotion, you could just feel it. It radiated off of the screen. And it was also visually stunning as well, although the colors were a little bit more muted, and I think that was necessary to match the tone. As far as the villain of the movie, I liked him too. I think that he had a pretty well flushed out backstory. But I mean, he's not what's going to come to mind when I think of this movie. Honestly, he was a second hand factor. Yeah. So maybe, yeah. So that might be something that I could say could have been better, is his character seemed pretty inconsequential to the rest of the movie. When I think of this movie, I'm always going to think about Zuri and her transition and her grieving process and her becoming a Black Panther more so than I'll think about him and whatever challenges that he contributed to the movie. Because he was good, he served his purpose. I didn't hate him. I actually liked some of his scenes, and I thought that he was a pretty sympathetic villain, not on the level of Thanos, but they gave him enough humanity and enough reason for why he was doing the things that he was doing for you to care about him. But he didn't feel like he was a major factor. It felt like Zuri was fighting with herself more than she was fighting with him, both metaphorically and literally, because the first major fight scene, like I said, doesn't happen until like an hour or so into the movie. So it is a lot of her fighting with herself. But I don't want to belabor this, guys. I really love this movie. I recommend that you guys, well, if you're watching this, you probably saw it already, unless you don't care about spoilers, in which case go see the movie. Don't listen to what other people are saying about it being whatever. It's a good movie. Another thing that I really enjoyed about this movie was the sound design. There were a few scenes that instead of sad music, the decision was made for it to just be silent. A montage, a memory that Zuri is having of T'Challa is just a montage of moments of him from different movies. The first Black Panther, Civil War, Infinity War, and it's just silent. Just silent. And somehow that was so much more impactful than just seeing those same memories, but with some type of sad music. I think the sad music would have taken away from him. And it was more of a, clearly, of a tribute to Chadwick Boseman than T'Challa, but still, it served that dual purpose, and it did it so well. And the same for the opening Marvel credits. It's just T'Challa, and it's quiet. And sometimes silence just speaks volumes. It delivers. So that was something small but really impactful that I enjoyed. As far as the Ironheart character, I was neither here nor there. She didn't bother me, but if she wasn't in the movie, I don't think it would have been much different. I've seen some people who felt like her presence took away from other people, which one person, M'Baku, I would have liked to see a little bit more of him, so maybe taking some of that screen time away from Riri and giving it to him. But other than that, she really didn't bother me all that much. I enjoyed her. She served an important role in the movie. She was the comedic relief, her and M'Baku, but we didn't get a lot of him. But without her, honestly, if you watch this movie without her, there's not any jokes. This movie probably has the fewest amount of jokes of any Marvel movie that I've seen, and that is perfect for me. I think that this movie needed to be more serious, and it delivered on that part. The only thing that I believe could have made this movie better is just one or two more fight scenes, because we do need that emotion. Like I say, I like that, but I still would like to see just a little bit more action. Matter of fact, very specifically, they did a good job with Zuri and watching her go through this grieving process to get to the point where she becomes the next Black Panther. But what I think could have made that arc even stronger because she fights Namor at the end of the movie. What I think could have made that even more impactful is to see her fight before that. We didn't see her really fight before that moment. So it's like, okay, she's overcoming the grief. Now can she overcome the hurdles of being a fighter now, a soldier? We've never seen her in that position, not really hand to hand. She's used her tech to fight and to assist in fighting, but we've never really seen her be the main fighter. So it would have been interesting to see her maybe engage in her first real hand-to-hand fight and maybe lose, and watch her learn from that to get to the point where at the end of the movie she fights Namor and we see that growth as well. But other than that, I love this movie, man. Those are the two things, the three things that I think could make this movie even better. Is just a little bit shorter of a runtime, seeing her progress, seeing Zuri progress as a warrior to become the Black Panther, and then and just like one or two more fight scenes. Other than that, I would keep it the same. But anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Yo, hit that like button, share, subscribe. This channel's about to blow up. Literally, it's coming, and you want to be a part of that. See you next time.